That should fix. Okay. Well, sorry about that, guys. Apparently my sound was missing. You should be able to hear me now. Thanks for the heads up there, Fish and Golf. Appreciate it. So there we go. Like I was saying, the down in the description you'll find the link for Buy Me a Coffee. We appreciate every little bit helps, keeps the show going. Most especially with a great big hot cup of Get Shit Done. And I hope you've all got your hot cup in front of you. This morning I want to talk about the movie Sound of Freedom. I wanted to talk about it a little more last week, but frankly, I was putting it off until I got a chance to watch the film. Now, we've touched on it a little bit, and the Sound of Freedom, the timing, there are some questions to be asked, and we will probably never hear actual answers. We're gonna be stuck in the land of speculation on a lot of that. But over the last year, really, you got to remember that Disney is involved in this film. And, yeah. So, over the last year, we've seen Disney just going, more than a year, but really, we've seen Disney just going absolutely full throttle down the rainbow path with things like, with things like this.
Let's have these two characters kiss. Let's, in the background, I was just, wherever I could, just basically adding queerness to, if you see any...
wherever I could, just basically adding queerness to okay. So, I mean, we've got Disney essentially on record admitting to actively working at grooming children. Right? Disney has been doing the work for the sex traffickers, the slave traders, the pedophiles. They are that industry. And so what I want you to understand when we talk about Sound of Freedom, like I said, I want to talk about this movie this morning. I'm gonna talk about the story and the history surrounding the film without getting into the film itself too much. This isn't going to be a super spoilery film review. I will say the film was excellent. I went and saw it Friday night with my buddy Steve. Steve the Bandhammer, not Uncle Steve or the other Steve. But we went and saw it Friday night. The film is excellent. Right off the rip, let me just say that. Forget about the message and all that for just a minute, and the film is excellent. I mean, it's adventure, it's suspense, it's emotionally just an absolute roller coaster ride, especially if you've ever worked anywhere adjacent to this world. I spent a little bit of time working on some of this stuff in the intelligence world. Most of my time was straight up counter terrorist interdiction, but those two worlds, surprise, surprise, overlap each other a lot. You cannot deal with child traffickers without also dealing with drug cartels and terror groups. And of course the same holds true. If you're primarily a drug, you're involved in interdiction in the drug trade and fighting cartel crime and corruption and the whole war on drugs, you are going to get mixed up in some child trafficking, human trafficking. I mean, what Tim Ballard did was specifically targeted at rescuing children from the sex slave trade, but it's not just children. Although a large bulk of the adults that are trafficked in the sex slave trade especially began as children. Now, the film starts off with a series of security surveillance footage of kids getting grabbed, and most of kids actually getting grabbed is happening in developing and third world countries. But you see a lot of clips of, it'll be two guys on a motorcycle. They ride up and the one guy hops off the back, snatches a kid. And when I say snatches a kid, I mean like runs up to mommy and daddy and a kid, grabs the kid, hops on the motorcycle, and they're gone. And buddy, I mean, they're gone. Yeah, go ahead, call the police in Bogota or Cartagena, and give them a description, give them a tag number off the motorcycle. Good luck. Good luck. If you happen to be lucky enough to get in touch with one of the rare police officers in that situation, and I'm not talking about American cops here. We got some problems there, but this is, when you start talking about South America and the Middle East, you start talking about the police there, they are all corrupt, because you are not a police officer and alive unless you are on the take, unless you are essentially, you almost have to start as part of one of the cartels to be allowed onto the police force to begin with. Kind of like the other party in North Korea. The police in a lot of these places exist essentially to create the illusion that police exist. The story in the film revolves around Tim Ballard, who is specialized in hunting pedophiles. And when I use that word, I'm not talking about somebody who has, I'm not just talking about somebody who has an unhealthy interest on which, we're at risk that they might act at some point in the future. He arrests one, right? This is the true story. He arrested one who was trafficking child pornography, befriended this guy in jail, conducted essentially a psyop on him, used that friendship to lure the guy down the path to helping set him up with a little boy for a weekend. And that maneuver was enough to put that pedophile away for trafficking and to begin the first steps of a sting operation where he was able to basically grab a more important trafficking agent and use that guy, leverage that guy into getting access to the bigger world of human trafficking so that he could target some of the worst offenders, some of the worst monsters in the world, and took them down by the dozens. At the end of the film, there's a statistical recap that kind of summarizes the story. After Tim Ballard took out the two big ones, he goes down to South America and is specifically trying to recover the sister of the little boy that he saved when he busted the first two pedophiles. He meets the little boy's father, learns about the little boy's sister, and goes looking for her in particular. And in the course of doing so, he incarcerates and eliminates some 36 human traffickers, slave traders, people who buy and sell children for nefarious purposes, and rescues over 150 kids from that world. You're going to see some things when you go watch the movie that right at the beginning just grab your attention, because they're things where you've seen it, right? The woman comes to the door, knocks on the door, and she's got very professional-looking pamphlets about her model talent agency. Oh, you have a beautiful voice. I think you could be a singer. You just have to come to the tryouts. My kid could be a star? Oh yeah, let me bring my children to the tryouts. And oh, I understand. Artistic stuff and whatnot. You don't need me in there distracting the kids. Okay, pickup's at 7. Okay, I'll be back at 7. You know, I mean, if my kids want to go and do tryouts for to be in movies or to sing for a record label or to model something like that, yeah, absolutely, sure. If that's what you want to do, if you think you want to go that route, then we can do that. You best to believe I will be sitting there in that room always. There will not be a moment that my eyes are not on the child. Now, I mean, that was the case before I saw this film. We've had a couple of incidents here when my eldest was very little. The first daycare that we used early on, they just lost her one day. We found her, we got her back, but they lost track of her. Told me they weren't even aware that she was in the building. I'm like, oh? Same thing happened when she moved into an actual public school for kindergarten and first grade. The bus lost track of her. The people whose job it was to maintain accountability and responsibility for my child could not tell me where she was. And you guys have heard me decry the evils of the public education system. To be clear, those are not the only problems that I've had with the public education system related to my children, and that's why my eldest, she got a little bit of time in the public education system. My second got a much smaller amount of time in the public education system, and we're done with them. We're homeschooling 4 kids. Because those people cannot be trusted with the safety of your children. They are inadequate to the task. So, let's get back to the film. I want to talk a little bit about the history of the film and why that matters. This film was made a little over 5 years ago. Okay? The film was made by Fox, and then Fox was bought by Disney. Over the last 5 years, Disney has been race-swapping characters, as we've got their executives saying very clearly, injecting queerness wherever she could. They've been actively engaged in grooming and sexual exploitation. Going back as far as the Mickey Mouse Club in the late 70s and early 80s, we have stories from the child actors there of rampant sexual abuse of the children in Disney's projects of that sort. And I mean, Disney is big Hollywood. Disney owns everything. Look out at the Empire of Joy, and let me remind you that Disney owns Miramax. That's right. Pulp Fiction, Saw, right? Those are also Disney movies. And don't get me wrong, Pulp Fiction's a great film, but people tend to think of, Happy Princess singing squirrels cartoons when they think Disney. But Disney is also Saw. Disney is also anything that's come out of Miramax, that's also Disney, a Disney property. Well, Disney bought Fox, and shortly after Disney bought Fox, this film, Sound of Freedom, was due to release. And that put a stop to that. All of a sudden, Disney, the household name in children and family entertainment, goes out of their way to hide from you as much as they can that child slave trafficking is a problem. Since the film's release, it has exploded in the theaters. Over $40 million on opening weekend, right? 40 million opening weekend. That's huge. Huge. People want to see this movie, and people are telling each other about this movie. And it's not just, it's a good movie, guys. I mean, honestly, if it did not have the important message that it has, and it was just a movie of the quality that it happens to be, I would recommend seeing this film. But this film is about something more important than the film itself. It is about, hey, your government and your institutions are culpable. They're compliant. Right? Let's not forget that prior to the administration of Barack Hussein Obama, open-air slave markets globally were not just a fond memory. They had been non-existent for over a century. But old Barry, buddy, he got that money flowing. And all of a sudden, we've got open-air slave markets in Africa again. That's a thing now. There are millions of, I shit you not, actual slaves. And this isn't the fluffy, cuddly kind of slavery like we fought the Civil War over, where you just work somebody too hard and feed them just enough to get by. No, this isn't the arguably reasonable slavery of the Roman Empire, where it's not so much that you own a person, it's I own a shitload of land, and hey, broke dude, if you'll work a plow, I'll give you a roof and 3 squares. Right? This isn't your granddaddy's slavery. This isn't the cuddly stuff. This isn't the urbane, humane solution to the alternative being murder everyone after a military conflict, moral evolutionary slavery. No. This is, I want an autonomously intelligent sex toy that doesn't just lay still while I rape it. So, that being said, I'd like to remind you, we'll be on Rumble tomorrow. Because I'm sure YouTube's not going to like this one. Probably throw me off for a month after this one. YouTube is not a fan of talking about the Pudding People fan club. So we'll see if we're still here tomorrow. But I want you guys to go see the movie, and I want you to write, call, go knock on the office doors, talk to your representatives, your senators, right? Your sheriffs, your mayors, your governors. Anyone who is elected, and especially anyone who's elected and in either a legislative or executive position, ask them what they're doing. And they'll probably tell you, oh, we have a plan for X, Y, and Z. They're doing nothing. Now, I will say in their defense, while part of the problem is that they're wholly inadequate to the task, it is true that part of the reason that they're wholly inadequate to the task is that these criminals are extraordinarily talented at their activities. They are incredibly well organized, right? What makes it difficult, one of the things that I had to work on is the operators here in America. I've explained this on the show before, but it definitely needs to be touched on in this today. The people who operate in this industry here in the United States are not the people that run that particular cartel. So the bosses that you need to take down in order to shut down the organization are somewhere else. Likewise, there are bosses here who run these criminal organizations who live in the United States, and they operate their business out of the United States. But that out of is important. Their actual operations are occurring in another jurisdiction. They're occurring overseas. They're in South America. They're in Africa. They're in Asia. They're in Eastern Europe. They're not here. So even though they're profiting and organizing and commanding and orchestrating the criminal activity, the crimes that they're committing are actually being committed in other countries. So even if the investigator can nail down, trafficker Joe Smith is the one that's running, organization A in, trafficker A in New York is running organization B in Bogota. Well, okay, so he's doing crime in Bogota, but that's in Bogota. That's their problem, and it is their problem. And there's just it's very difficult, legally speaking, to cross jurisdictional boundaries, especially when those jurisdictional boundaries are international, right? So if the bad guy's running the program from here, the program he's running in Cartagena is actively using the police to shield the trafficking operations, right? He might own a couple of cops in New York. He might have a couple of buddies that he's bribing to kind of make sure that everybody looks the other way if he does slip up somewhere. But the police in point B are actually on his payroll. They're not even taxpayer funded. They're his personal employees. And all that makes it very, very difficult to track and prosecute and eliminate these targets. There have been some developments there. In my opinion, they should be treated like terrorists, because what they do is at least as bad. I would say much worse. And so the importance of this cannot be understated. Like I said, I want you calling your congressman, calling your representatives, et cetera, make the calls, get on there. And I want to close on this. This is from Angel.com. Angel Studios made the film. In theaters, buy tickets, okay? They ran a little message at the end of the film. If you guys go here, and I'm going to go ahead and drop this description in the chat, or this link in the chat. The point to this page is so that you can get free tickets or buy tickets to make free tickets available to someone else, because they want people. Here it is. Angel Studios has partnered with a variety of theater ticketing services to provide pay it forward tickets to see The Sound of Freedom. These tickets have been paid for by generous fans. Below you will find instructions for how to claim a free ticket to see the film in theaters. So you can go and buy a ticket for somebody to have a free ticket, or you can go and get a free ticket. Go to angelstudios.com and go through, and it'll show you how to do it. So if you have not seen the film, go see the film. If you can pay it forward to somebody else, please do. If you can't afford to go see the film, treat yourself. Do yourself a favor and take advantage of this incredibly generous offer that's being made by the studio and the filmmakers, and go see it. It's an education. It really is. That said, I'm going to go ahead and put a pin in it there, guys. Thank you so much for watching this morning. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.